Hey guys, so I'm going to be reading some Reddit stories today while playing some Minecraft. And today, what we're doing is we're going to be building a sugarcane farm. We're going to be reading some revenge stories. The first story is called Dog on Duty. So, just for context, both my parents were clueless in some ways and had allowed inappropriate men in their social circle. My parents were consistently ignorant about what this was like for me and my siblings. Fast forward, and I'm 18 and semi independent. I had my own car and dog and lived away from home, but I visited often. I had this big black and brown dog, not for protection, just because I loved animals. She went everywhere with me and she was my buddy. She was goofy and loyal, but had a big bark and was part German Shepherd, so could look scary, but she was a sweet-natured dog. We were like peas and carrots, always together. My Nana was living with my parents at that time. Not the cuddly type of Nana, the mean kind, who legend has it is why my dad was a bit clueless and messed up. My dad had a friend visiting, a creep in one of those orange toweling sun hats that just give off a vibe that a teenage girl wouldn't be into. He looked like Benny Hill and not in a good way. So the second my dad is out of the room, this creep starts commenting on my body and my boobs. "You're a big girl, blah blah blah." Before I could think of a reply, dad came back and the guy switched to talking with my dad. I was upset and humiliated. When he'd gone, Nana and Mum were talking about him. "What a nice guy he is. He's alright. He's harmless," is what my mum said when I told her what he'd said. I was still fairly young and quite upset by this, probably because I'd just begun to find my voice and I knew she was wrong on many counts, particularly mothering. A few days after, Mum said this man is on his way to visit. I was incandescent with rage but didn't say anything to Mum. I pulled up a chair outside and sat thinking about all the things I would say to him. Basically, F off and don't ever come back, and various colorful versions of this. My loyal dog sat beside me quietly, calmly. I sat there thinking. My dog quietly sniffed the air. A car pulls up, and Orange Sun Hat walks up the driveway. My dog sprints towards him in full attack mode, like a guard dog in a movie. She's barking, growling, lunging at him. He runs off, drops his flagon of beer, legs it back to his car, and drives off and never comes back. I never spoke, didn't call the dog back, just waited for her, and went back in the house like nothing had happened. My dog never did this again. So first off, I just gotta say, W dog, guys. Holy. The dog was better at realizing who this guy really was, more than both of this girl's parents, which I guess is nice in some ways and unfortunate in another. But that's actually nice that she stood up for herself. Moving on to the next story. This one is called "My Coworker Kept Taking Credit for Closing Tasks, so I stopped reminding him about the one thing that made him look useful." I used to work night shift at a small hotel front desk. There were only two of us, so it was pretty obvious who actually did the work and who just floated around looking busy. My coworker Eric was great at the second one. He'd avoid the boring stuff like wiping down the coffee station, restocking key cards, and getting breakfast set up, then act like we had both done equal work. When the morning manager came in, he'd always make himself sound way more on top of things than he really was. The part that finally got to me was breakfast prep. Night shift was supposed to leave things ready for the morning attendant, including moving the waffle batter from the freezer so it would be usable. Technically that was shared, but the only reason it ever got done was because I reminded Eric every shift around 5:10. I did it because if it got missed, morning shift complained at both of us. Then one morning, Eric told our manager that I was always forgetful about closing details, but that he always caught things behind me. After that, I stopped reminding him. I still did my own work, I just stopped giving him the one nudge that let him act competent. 3 shifts later, the breakfast attendant opened the freezer and realized the waffle batter had never been moved. Manager asked what happened and Eric immediately tried to say he thought I handled that part. My manager looked at him and said, "I thought you always double check behind her." Room got quiet real fast. He didn't get fired or anything, but after that, he stopped acting like my supervisor in a name tag and somehow started remembering breakfast prep all by himself and helping me so much more. Hey, that's just well played, bro. He kind of deserved that. But yeah, I don't get why people try and act like they're better than they are for their boss. Like, do they not realize that if you're too good of a worker, you'll never get promoted? But yeah, that's some pretty sweet, petty revenge. Let's go on to the next story. This one's called "They Ruined My Laundry, so I Made Their Next Load Memorable." This happened a few years ago when I was living in the dorms at college. If you've ever done laundry in a dorm, you already know. It's basically a gladiator arena with lint. The dryers were not cheap, so I'd always tried to be strategic and economical. I'd set a timer, show up early so I could get my clothes out right when it was finished. One day, I came back a few minutes before my cycle was done, with my bag of snack-sized Doritos feeling very responsible, only to find my clothes had been pulled out early and dumped onto a table. Annoying already, but it gets better. The table was covered in a puddle of soda, so now my almost dry clothes were damp, sticky, and smelled like Pepsi. I was furious. Not mildly inconvenienced furious, more like I paid for that dryer time and now I have to rewash everything furious. Now, I'm not a destructive person, but I do believe in educational pettiness. I noticed a person's clothes were still in the dryer, so I added a full bag of snack sized Doritos into their laundry load, shut the door, and set it to high heat and let the cycle continue. When that dryer finished, I happened to be hanging out in the lounge outside the laundry area. A girl came out looking angry with a laundry basket full of orange streaked Dorito smelling clothes. Was it mature? No. Did it restore balance to the universe? Also no. Did it make me feel better in that exact moment? Absolutely. Moral of the story, don't touch other people's laundry or you might end up smelling like a walking snack aisle. So somebody in the comments said, I used to be even more petty than that when people would do that. I would just crack open the dryer and leave. The way those particular dryers worked in my dorm, it would still count that as dryer time. So they would have sopping wet clothes and have to pay for more dryer time. And then I would set a timer and come down one more time to specifically beat them to it so I could crack it open again. Always double tap. And then someone else said, someone did this to me in college when I stepped out for a phone call. Not proud of it, but it was Valentine's Day night. I had just been dumped and I was drinking. So I tied up their still wet clothes around some tree branches to freeze after switching my clothes back. Oh my god, bro. I guess laundry is super personal for people at college, guys. So don't ever mess with another person's laundry in college, guys, because you're gonna get cooked. Those stories were pretty funny. Now let's go on to the next story. Okay, so this is a little elevator story called Holding the Lift. I live on the 7th floor of an 8-story apartment building. My neighbors on the 5th floor leave to take their kids to school at the same time I go to work. They frequently hold the lift for way too long in the morning as they get everybody in the car. There's only one lift in the building, so I end up standing there waiting for several minutes. It was especially bad one day last week, and after about 3 minutes, I just took the stairs down. As I passed them on the 5th floor, they were still standing in the lobby and holding the lift door so it couldn't go anywhere. The mom was slathering sunscreen on the kid's face and talking loudly about something. That went on for a while, and I actually beat them to the ground floor, though I was super annoyed at their poor etiquette. Later that same evening, my kid and I walked into the building about 20 seconds before their family. Normally, I'd wait so they could get on the lift with us, but due to their antics in the morning, we hurried to close the doors and go to our apartment. When the lift got to the 7th floor, I held the doors open so that it couldn't go back down to get them. I used my stopwatch to time 2 minutes and then pushed the 8th floor button before letting it go. It was super petty of me, but I got great satisfaction of giving them a taste of their own medicine. What this guy should have really done is actually, he should have pressed all the buttons, guys. He should have just pressed them all. Why not make them wait a little bit longer? And then someone else said in the comments he should have just gone into the elevator on the 5th floor and just been like, yo, are you guys getting on the elevator or not? Because, like, what would they do in that situation? Like, actually. Like, I wonder how they would react to that. That would be pretty funny to see. Yo, guys, this next one is actually pretty funny. It's called Influencer Influenced. So just had one of those irritating sessions in the gym where an overly chatty girl with a phone streaming her workouts wanted everyone to move away from her. Most of the other folks there just wanted to complete their sets, shower, and head home. But she needed her followers to see her circuit, and everyone else needed to move. A real pain in the ass. I was in the free weights area completing a few sets of barbell squats as she sat up near me on the weights bench. She stood staring and grunting, but I wasn't moving. She set up making sure I was not in her shot and restarted her stream. As she restarted, I started my final set. Barbell squats are good as a secondary exercise for your abs, and my final set increased the weight. Throughout my workout, I had felt a little bit of gas bubbling up through the sets. I had held it back as I'm polite to other users, but the influencer girl was making herself very obvious and very obtuse. As I went for the last ascent, I decided I wasn't going to be polite and hold that gas in any longer, so let go a very loud and very obvious fart. I'm sure every follower on her channel heard it. I picked up my towel, wiped down, and left. Petty, yes, but exactly what she deserved. Low-key, I felt like this wasn't even like petty at all, bro. This guy just embarrassed himself. But someone in the comments said something really funny, bro. So they said, next time you need to whip around, look at her, and go, oh girl, super loud. Absolutely none of those watchers will believe it wasn't her. LOL. I hate anyone who films in the gym. Bro, this is actually hilarious. Like this isn't like what he did wasn't revenge, guys, but if he farted super loud and said and pretended like it was her, bro. Oh my god, bro. That would actually be revenge, bro. And all of her followers or whatever, there's no way that they wouldn't make fun of her for like a really long time because of that. So that would be that's actually a W revenge if he did that. But unfortunately, he just made a fool of himself. I feel like that wasn't like really that good of a revenge. What do you guys think? I don't know. Let's go to the next story. Okay, so this one's called "Someone Invited Me to Play the Mess Around and Find Out" game. So someone parked their expensive vehicle in a way that blocked the handicap parking spot where we used to live. Even crossed the blue line slightly. There were only two people, one being myself, who had a handicap plate. I knew the other person who needed it would not be able to get out of their car, so I didn't take the second handicap spot. While we both have valid plates for handicap parking, they needed the spot more than I did. I love it when someone invites me to play the mess around and find out game. Cue my behavior modification plan. The parking spot on the offending vehicle's other side was available, with that being the vehicle's driver's side. I decided I was going to park in a way that left them under 6 inches to get in their vehicle. I even pushed my passenger side mirror in to get as close as possible, leaving them with only the choice of crawling in from their passenger side. Between the day this occurred and when we moved out 6 months later, that vehicle never repeated that again. If they had been pissy and tried to dent my 10-year-old minivan, no sweat. I happened to document their license plate. The neighbors who needed the handicap parking more than I did couldn't stop laughing. The elderly woman said it made her day. This is actually a W. This is a W revenge in my opinion, because not only did you get revenge on some dude that was annoying, you actually were being nice to someone else who was also handicapped. Like I know like both of them were handicapped, right? But like she put the needs of the more necessary person above her own or their own or whatever, above their own, which is a W in my book. So you don't have to feel bad at all for this revenge. And it's good that, like sometimes the revenge works, bro. This guy like never parked there again, right? So sometimes you just got to do a little petty revenge to get things back to where they should be, bro. So yeah. Okay, guys, so the next one is called "You Don't Need the Air Conditioning On, It's Not That Hot." I used to work in a hardware shop here in the UK. We had a heat wave one weekend when I was working. The shop floor was roasting, but despite calling upstairs, the manager wouldn't turn on the air conditioning from his office, telling us to stop complaining. But he wouldn't come down to the floor. Eventually, I went up to see him after several complaints from customers about how warm it was. I found him sat in his comfy chair with the fan on his desk while he pissed about with spreadsheets. The moment he went on his lunch a few hours later, my supervisor and I shot upstairs and grabbed the fan, went down to the stockroom and stamped on that fan until it was in pieces. Then we dumped the evidence in a bin bag in a public bin outside the back of the shop. The stupid old bastard spent the rest of the day lamenting the loss of his fan, searching around thinking we'd hit it, and when he eventually joined us on the shop floor for the final hour of the workday, decided we did indeed need the air conditioning switched on. Every morning after this, we ensured our large industrial bin was dumped in his parking spot, so that he'd have to get out of his car to move it before parking. Every single morning for years. That's actually insane, bro. That they did that for years. Like low-key, I would understand like getting rid of his fan, but like moving the industrial bin every single day for years, like I feel like that's kind of a little too far. What do you guys think about that? Like maybe a few days, a week, but like years, bro? Like holy. But hey, maybe he did deserve it, bro. I don't know. Okay, so this next one sounds a little juicy, guys. So this one is DoorDash driver stole my food. So my partner and I had ordered food one time from DoorDash, and the delivery driver got close enough to where we were, marked the food as delivered, and drove away. We watched it happen on the delivery map. We had waited over an hour for the food in the first place. I was so freaking hungry. I tried calling the driver, but she kept declining my calls, which made me even more mad. Unfortunately for her, I had time that day. After I contacted support and they confirmed they would have it reordered and delivered, I non-stop called this girl for an hour straight. I called her exactly 87 times back to back. She tried putting her phone on Do Not Disturb, but because I'd called twice in a row, it would go through the second time. She tried answering the phone and immediately hanging up. She tried just letting it ring, assuming she could just wait it out. In the end, she had to turn her phone off. If she didn't deliver my order, she doesn't get to accept any other orders for a while. Edit. You are all annoying. Lol, I did not make this up. Here's a screenshot of an Instagram story I posted talking about it. And, yeah, I guess it is kind of real. And then she got a lot of hate and she's like, I wouldn't last if I was a celebrity. You guys are mean. And then apparently people were being rude. And okay, so apparently it looks like I was thinking, why couldn't you just why wouldn't she just block your number, right? But apparently if you call through the DoorDash app, there's no way to block me or there's no way to block a number that's calling you from the DoorDash app if they're your customer. And the driver couldn't report them to DoorDash because they knew she stole my order. Like, what would she even say, right? So in my opinion, bro, that's good revenge, low key. Like, bro, why would you steal food, bro? Your whole job is to deliver food, bro. Like, these people always think so short term. Like, what happened to you're never gonna be able to DoorDash again, bro? Like, the people who do DoorDash, they kind of need to do it for money. But if they just steal food, then how are they going to keep doing it? Like, bro, this literally makes no sense. Like, I did DoorDash for a while, guys, and I was a top. I didn't get that many reviews, actually, but I was always a very good delivery driver, guys. Low key, on time, almost every single time. And I got good tips for it, bro, literally. But yeah, moving on to the next story. Delivery driver blocks city street for 25 minutes during rush hour. He returns to get the money he was told he dropped, waits 25 minutes just to be told there was no such money. A very, very long title today. Okay, so last week, a delivery driver for a big construction company parked his truck in the only driving lane on a big city street and proceeded to make his delivery. The bus I was on was unable to reroute, streets too small for bus to turn, and then car after car also got caught in the jam. Bus driver and then some resident all yelled at him he can't park in the only driving lane. He yelled and said he's allowed because he's making a delivery. I got the name on the company and truck ID/license. Originally, I was just going to call and tell the company, but I knew nothing would be done. So I called the company HQ and said, in a kindly old man voice, I'd seen a driver, date, time, location, truck ID, drop a significant amount of cash and that I'd like to return it to the driver. They made some calls and eventually the guy calls and says, thanks for finding the cash. And we set up a time to meet back in the city. He lived/worked about 30 to 45 minutes away. I gave him the address of the rec center down the block from my house so I could watch his arrival. Once he got there and texted that to the Good Samaritan, I said I was picking up an RX and could he wait a bit. I see him get out of the car, smoke, and probably think of how he's going to spend the $1,800 he never even dropped. After 25 minutes and a few apologetic texts, I tell him I'm inside the rec center. He gets out of the car and goes inside. Several calls ensue and I don't answer. He walks back to the car and I text that I saw him but was on the other side of the rec center and using crutches so I couldn't catch him. He walks back inside. Several more calls and texts. Now he's getting pissed. He stomps back to his car and I call him now using my real voice and tell him, sorry man, I know waiting sucks. Remember that delivery you made on blank street on Monday? Well, I was in the bus that had to wait for you. Now you just waited for money that was never real. And by the way, I'm watching you from my house right now, you fat a-hole. He turns so bright red I can see it. He calls and texts threats several times, all to a burner phone number I got special for the occasion, but I don't reply. The last few days, I've called him from a hotel lobby guest phone just to tell him/leave him voicemail that he should never block the street and hope he didn't need the money. Oh my god, bro. This guy's a master at petty revenge, bro. Holy. Just wasting his time like that is actually funny. Getting a burner phone number just for the occasion and then leaving phone calls from hotel lobbies is actually insane, bro. Oh my god, that's well done. Bro, I wonder how that guy literally felt after literally waiting for hours, spending hours of his time, and the whole thing was literally a prank. Oh my god, bro. $1,800, bro. Oh my god, that's a lot of money. He probably was so excited, and then he got absolutely crushed, bro. Damn. That's some good karma right there. I mean, that's some pretty insane revenge. I don't know. Maybe I'm not as vengeful as some people, bro, but yeah, it is pretty funny though. So moving on to the next story called Won't Speak to Me, Enjoy the Silence. I once worked nights at a toxic place, UK supermarket food store. Was told I had to come in at least half an hour earlier than clocking in time and stay back a half hour after clocking off, all unpaid. No one liked me, no social interaction from anyone, as they had formed their own little cliques, and I always was given the worst tasks and I was looked down upon because I questioned their extra working policy. Everyone was miserable, so why shouldn't I be? Anyway, after store closing and during cleaning and restocking, someone decided to bring a Bluetooth speaker, and they were allowed to play music to lift spirits and help the tedium pass. Never heard tedium before. My next employment was starting the next week, and I just planned on walking out, not letting them know of my intentions. The music did seem to lift spirits a bit, but then I put my evil plan in place. I got a friend to call the store manager at about 1 a.m. to complain, saying that he lived in one of the houses opposite, and the music he could hear was keeping him awake and he couldn't sleep. Even describing the songs he heard that I had told him. The manager came down, relayed the complaint, and told the staff that the music had to be turned down. It was turned down. The music was now at a level that was barely audible. My friend called again, complained about the booming bass. Oh my god, bro. Still couldn't sleep. Could still hear artist name I texted to him, threatening head office and police, etc. Oh my god, bro. Yo, this is so funny. Manager came out again, banning the radio. My last couple of shifts now in silence. Misery restored. Oh my god. That's hilarious. Okay, so first let's start off talking about, bro, unpaid labor. What is this unpaid labor policy, bro? He should have gotten that in writing and then just sent that to like the labor people. I don't know, like the labor board. I don't know what they got in the UK. Oh my god, but yeah, that's like 100% illegal, bro. Like what the heck? And I also hope he did the just walking out method, bro. Like several times when I worked at like fast food jobs, low key I wanted to do that, but you know I actually liked my coworkers, so I didn't want to do that to them, bro. That would be kind of rude. But yeah, bro, low key this was so funny. This is a funny ass prank. And it's not even like that like horrible anyway. All it is just that they can't listen to music. That really isn't that bad. And if they treated him badly, then they deserved it, bro. Like it's just a little one day of extra boringness. But okay, the next one's a little longer. Okay, so this is called The Bully and Her Book Report. I just remembered this today since I took my mom to lunch for Mother's Day, and she mentioned seeing my bully's mom at church. I had a bully, Jackie, was a terrible person beyond mean girl. She was one of those popular girls who would go out of her way to be deliberately cruel, and she loved to pick on me. Catholic school, so we had the same classmates all 8 years, and she rode my bus, so there was no escaping her. She was also dumb and lazy. I was an extremely shy and quiet child, almost completely silent, and I used to read a lot, so I was reading several levels above my grade. Our 6th grade teacher, Sister Louise, assigned us a monthly book report. You could either hand in a written report or do a little craft thing like a diorama and a short presentation. Papers were due on Friday, but the presentations were during our English period for the week, preceding the Friday due date. A couple of months into the school year, at the beginning of the week, Jackie did her presentation of the book that was maybe a 4th grade reading level, but she had obviously never read the book or even the synopsis on the back cover, so her presentation was a story she made up based on the picture on the front cover. That same day, it seemed like she was especially horrible to me on the bus going home, and I was angry at that and her blatant cheating. She couldn't even bother to read a little kid's chapter book. I had read that book a while ago, so I remembered the story, but I also checked it out from the public library and skimmed it to refresh my memory of certain points. I then did my very in-depth book report on the same book, pointing out the minute details and making sure that it was obviously not the plot Jackie had presented. I got 100% on that report, and Jackie got a 25% because she had at least done the diorama, and her mother had to have a meeting with Sister Louise. And Sister Louise then decided that we had to choose a book from the 6th grade reading list or get our book pre-approved. A lot of the kids were mad that they couldn't choose an easy book now because of Jackie. Jackie was ranting and raving on the bus that she got caught because someone else did a report on the same book, but I don't think she ever suspected me because I was the kid who always had my nose buried in far more advanced books, and I think they had assumed I had done a report on one of those. Sister Louise knew exactly what I had done because I had to get my next book approved, and she gave me a very pointed look and a smirk when she said, "Yes, this seems to be a book that is more in line with your reading level." I'd like to think that she was kind of proud that I fought back in the only way the quietest shy kid knew how. Sister Louise ran a tight ship, so there was no bullying in class. It all happened at sports practice, at Girl Scouts, on the bus, or in the neighborhood. Also, it was 40 plus years ago when there wasn't a big zero tolerance for bullying movement. We were just supposed to deal with it. You know what, bro? Both this girl and Sister Louise are like W, bro. Her revenge was actually hilarious. And really, looking from the outside, no one would even realize that would be like revenge on purpose. Like only Sister Louise and she would know that, bro. And there's always like plausible like deniability with this like revenge. Really, like technically, I mean, I just did my book report, bro. I didn't know that you were gonna get caught for not doing it properly. Like that's not my fault. So at least there's like some plausible deniability there, which kind of works in her favor. But yeah, I feel like even with that, Jackie would still like probably bully her for that. But yeah, W Sister Louise. Let's move on to the next story. Okay, so this is gonna be the last one, and it has a crazy title. Made two colleagues put weight on. So let's see what it's about. So had two rather nasty women working with me. I called them the gruesome twosome. Okay, fire name. Nasty people went out of their way to prevent a promotion, gossiped, lied, etc. Not the worst people, but nasty. Used to dread working the days when they were in together. Anyway, they were chatting about how they were both going on a diet, going to some kind of gathering where they had to monitor weight. I don't know, Weight Watchers, I assume. Didn't think much of it until another department left us some Easter eggs in the office. The eggs got wolfed within a few days by the gruesome twosome. They seemingly couldn't resist a pile of chocolate. Bit harsh on the other staff who were also entitled to them. But those eggs went fast. So I started bringing goodies in, going out of my way to find things which had a lot of calories, leaving them in the office. Donuts, brownies, biscuits, sweets. They would always go fairly quickly. I did consider making my own stuff using lard, but I don't have time. Anyway, they didn't appear to lose weight. They spent a lot of time talking about dieting, whilst also eating the goodies I was bringing in. Then we all got made redundant anyway. I feel like this isn't even revenge, bro. What kind of revenge is this? You are buying desserts and giving them to your colleagues, your coworkers who are trying to lose weight and making them fat, but you're literally spending money to just make them enjoy the fatness. Like, I feel like they low-key don't even care that much about losing weight if they're just gonna eat all the sweets. So all they got is more sweets and you just lost money in your wallet, bro. What the heck, bro? This is the worst revenge we've seen today. Low-key, that was terrible. But yeah, this is the final sugarcane farm, guys. I just added another layer to the top. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but it was actually 63 blocks tall, which is super duper annoying. I don't know why my friend built it like that, but he did, so that's annoying. Like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next one.